members, but ask around for other ideas.
Right. So but that's part of the reason I'm here today is just to get good feedback. And those are both good things to talk about. But yeah, I know we've been working to make the quality better.
Welcome to the October 31st meeting of the Rotary Club of Jamestown. Happy Halloween. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, singing our national anthem, and repeating the four-way test. I pledge allegiance. Let's repeat the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Our invocation today is given by Marion Beckerick.
An invocation is a traditional prayer for the support, counsel, or indulgence of an almighty power upon the works of a body of people such as our Rotary. So today I offer this prayer, and you all may appeal to whatever power speaks to you. Let us bow our heads. Lord of the universe, you have given most of mankind a strong desire to do good, to be honest, to serve others, and to faithfully fulfill their obligations to their neighbors. Help us as Rotarians and humans to do good. Help us as Rotarians and humans to be honest and ethical in all our dealings. Help us as Rotarians and humans to serve others, and help us as Rotarians and humans to faithfully fulfill our obligations as neighbors to our community, our nation, and to the world. Amen. We don't have any guests today, so happy Halloween again and welcome.
Thank you, Marion. Announcements. Our Rotarily Yours recorder today is Rudy Andalora. As always, many thanks to you and our communications committee for all you do to keep our club informed. 50/50 sign up sheet is going around. Please sign up. That's a good way to serve. And Rotary Board is making a memorial donation with personal funds to the Little Theater, and thanks to the gift of music that Lucy gave the club. Please see me today if you'd like to participate in that donation.
Just a reminder to Vision Committee members and DEI members, there's a DEI meeting, hybrid Zoom in person at CRCF on Tuesday, this Tuesday at noon. And there will be a Vision Committee meeting, again, hybrid on Thursday at CRCF at noon. So we'll look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Marion. Any other announcements? Any other announcements from committee chairs? I think we're all set. Okay, 50/50. Please get your tickets ready as we welcome Lee Magnuson for today's 50-50 drawing. $34 total, 17 to the winner. Three, 4, 2, 4, the last four. 3, 4, 2, 4. All right, congratulations, Randy. We should have some after. Give a hand to our Sergeant at Arms, Doug Conroe.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, Mark had to leave early today, so he's helped us out. And our guest speaker today has been extremely generous and supportive of the club. Thank you, Katie. Very good. Because I don't have anyone else to find that's here today. It's been a quiet week. I suppose we could say everyone wearing orange is exempt and everybody else should come up, but nah. Since I'm not wearing orange. But today probably is a day that if one is not wearing one's Rotary pin, one would like to make a donation to the bucket. So I see one person standing. Oh, there's a couple more. And while people are coming up, perhaps we might have a Michigan for football, I think. Might have a University of Buffalo. Cortland might have a Worcester. I know we have a Mount Union. Okay, I know we have, and I know Clemson won previous weeks when someone wasn't here to honor them. Carnegie Mellon, John Carroll, Rockport, Case Western, Walden Wallace, Heidelberg, Go Blue. And Mike is looking anxiously as if Ohio State should be recognized. Toledo. Okay. So that does it. We're on to Happy Bucks, Mr. Chairman.
Obviously, there's a new sheriff in town, JTT. I spent about 20 minutes going over forced fumbles, interceptions, touchdown, but you get the message. I'm going to put in $10 because of a young lady by the name of Lucy Miller. God bless her. She was an amazing person and a great friend of all of ours, and we're going to miss her dearly, for sure.
Thank you, Mike. Happy Bucks. Anybody else want to share? Anybody online?
I have two Happy Bucks today. One is, I mentioned this back in the springtime, but you'll forgive proud Papa. My daughter is on her way right now to Lucerne, Switzerland to accept her honorary doctorate degree in economics from the University of Lucerne. So she obviously took after her mom. The other Happy Buck, it's for Stacy. She's on. Stacy, if you unmute yourself, if you'd rather talk about this. However, I'm going to put in a Happy Buck anyway. It's bad news that turned into good news. Stacy's beautiful little puppy that my wife and I often puppy sit for was attacked this weekend by a neighbor's Mastiff. And her little puppy is a little Shih Tzu. And it was really nearly fatal, but fortunately the vets over on Fluvanna Avenue did a miraculous job pulling her through. So that happy buck is for Bailey, who lived through a bad time.
Thank you, Walt.
Last week, I was thanking all the sponsors and people that had to do with Retool New York, and I left out the Gebby Foundation. So here's to you, Kathy. Thank you.
So I've got one. And first of all, it's so great to see everybody. And I'm so sorry I haven't been here. A work thing has kept me away. Believe me, not by choice. But my happy buck is for a certain team called the Buffalo Bills. So if you know me, you know I love them. I loved my Josh Allen, and you're welcome, because the reason they won is I actually wore my jersey to bed, because I went to bed and watched it in bed, but I kept my jersey on, and that's why they won. So you're welcome.
Go Bills. Anybody online happy bucks at all? It is my pleasure to welcome Courtney Cortolo for the program committee and introduce our speaker.
Well, most of you probably don't even need to listen to me right now because everybody knows who Katie is. But for any new Rotarians, Katie is one of our wonderful past presidents. She has worked in workforce development for more than 17 years. She is currently the executive director of the Chautauqua Workforce Development Board. She administers numerous programs, all with a focus of delivering job search and work readiness services to all job seekers striving to meet the hiring needs of all businesses. Katie serves on numerous local and statewide boards. I sit on many of them with her, and she's always wonderful to be with. She is from Fredonia, or she resides in Fredonia with her husband, Mark, who you also might know. And she has 3 adult children, one of which just got married a few weeks ago. And like I said, she's the past president of Rotary. So welcome, Katie. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks, Courtney. So first and foremost, because I'm old, I have to put my glasses on. Oh, so annoying. But anyways, it's a thrill to be back. Like I said, it has not been by choice that I haven't been here. And as I was thinking about coming back and seeing so many faces and so many friends, I was hit with so many memories. And, Mike, what you said, one of the first things I always thought of was, when we sing the national anthem with Lucy playing the piano. So I thought of Lucy this morning, as I do often think of her, but especially this morning, and certainly do miss her. But again, thrilled to be here. So Chautauqua Works. So I'm here to talk about Chautauqua Works. So I always like to feel the room. Hopefully everybody's going to raise their hand, but how many people have heard of Chautauqua Works? Fantastic. But do you really know what we do? And so I guess that's really why I'm here to talk. So Chautauqua Works, a lot of people think that we're the unemployment insurance office. And that is a complete false assumption. We are a reemployment office. So individuals who do submit a claim for unemployment insurance are required to come in and meet with our staff and work with them to try to find a new job. But we're about the reemployment. We don't handle unemployment insurance claims. We don't, that's just not at all what we do. We're all about helping that individual, that job seeker, look at where are they today, where do they want to try to get to, and then how do we help fill in those gaps and develop a plan with them so that they can reach their hiring needs. So our mission, which I'm going to read to make sure I don't get it wrong, but our actual mission is to pull all resources in the community into a systemic approach to help employers, current and future, become competitive in a global economy, help individuals attain life skills necessary for employment and family sustaining jobs. And basically what that means is we help people find jobs and we help businesses fill their open positions. That's what we're all about. So that's why we're a reemployment office. Every single person that walks through our doors has a different set of needs. They come from a different background. They're trying to get someplace different. And that's really where our staff comes in, is to really help them figure out how to make that happen. We never really closed for COVID. Somebody asked me, are we going to just talk about COVID? No, I'm just going to mention COVID very, very briefly. So we never really closed for COVID. We had 4 days where we closed our offices to the public in mid-March of 2020. And during those 4 days, we accessed and programmed, not we, member of my staff who was unbelievable in a time of what was really truly crisis, programmed laptops, and there's a certain, it's called a Z1. I don't know anything beyond that. That's why I am not the person who was doing that. But every single person got a laptop and a Z1, and what that allowed them to do was to work from their home. And so it was as if they were sitting at their desk at work, and they were able to deliver services virtually through phone calls as well as email and then Zoom. We became really good at Zoom really, really fast. So literally we were only down for 4 days. We did not stay away from the office for the same amount of time that a lot of others did. We were actually back. We brought our staff back into the offices by early June. And then we started providing services in person by appointment starting about the second week of June. So we gave everybody a couple weeks back in the office. And if you think back, it's not that you really want to, because I certainly don't. But when you think back to, that spring of 2020, you were afraid to leave your house. So, we did everything very gradually. We followed all of the CDC requirements. And I was just so proud of our whole team, because we literally were seeing customers within a couple of months in person, but we never stopped delivering services and maintained that. We now, I'm happy to say, are fully operational. Both offices are open from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Most of you know where our one in Jamestown is. It's right around the corner, on the corner of East 3rd and Main Street. And then we have one in Dunkirk, right on Central Avenue, about kitty corner from City Hall. So when I talk about individuals come in, they tell us they're here, they want to get here, and all the steps in between. It might be someone who just needs help. How do I job search? And that's something that they may be able to do on their own once they're shown how, or just even given a computer to be able to have access to that, and they can do it all on their own. But a lot of people need some additional help, and our staff will do that. A lot of people are interested in training opportunities. And so some examples of that are, we had an individual come in who had been laid off from a manufacturing position, and they had always wanted to go into healthcare. And so they worked with one of our staff to develop what's called an individual employment plan and fill in those steps. And that individual went and got their LPN, their licensed practical nursing degree. We actually can provide funding, again, based on eligibility, and that's really just somebody doing the assessment work that's necessary, and we walk through all of that with them, and that's done with one of our staff. And they can access up to $4,000 per program year, and a program year for us is June 1st through July 1st through June 30th. Up to $4,000, which is a grant. They never have to pay that back. That helps them pay for their tuition, and up to $1,000 towards books, their licenses, those kinds of things. And so this individual got her LPN. And when she came into us, the wage that she was earning when she was laid off was $12.50 an hour. The job that she received after getting her LPN was $22 an hour. That's what we do every day. That's the kind of work that we do all the time. Just to give you an example. So that's the training side of the house. And we've trained, I actually just made a quick list of some of the trainings that we do the most of. And that's industrial equipment mechanics, electricians, machinists, welding, CNC machinists, maintenance mechanics, HVAC, CDLAs. So that's your truck drivers. You're always hearing we have a truck driver shortage. We have trained a boatload of CDLA drivers. So we're trying to answer that need. Heavy equipment operator, licensed practical nurse, RNs, accounting, computer specialists, just to name a few. That is not an all-inclusive list. That's just some of the ones where many people are looking for those trainings, mainly because there's really great job opportunity perspectives. And the way that works is, so the whole, we want to make sure, we want to set somebody up for success. So if somebody comes in and says, I want to take this master's level basket weaving course, okay? We're certainly going to listen to what it is that they would like to do, but we're going to also educate them on what are the job opportunities at the end of this basket weaving course. And if there aren't real actual job opportunities in our area, then we won't be able to help them with funding for that. They can still go do that on their own, that's fine, but we work with them to look at what are the different jobs that they can expect to be eligible for, to be now skilled for, and so that they are going into a training knowing exactly what kinds of jobs they should be able to get when they come out, because they need to understand that going in. We never want somebody to go to a training and say, oh my gosh, you never told me I would only make this much, or that, you know, there's no jobs in that field. That isn't what we're about. We're all about setting people up for success, but also helping them get to where it is that they're telling us they would like to go, but in an educated fashion. On the job trainings is another area. We call them OJTs for short. We love acronyms in my world, so I try really hard not to use those. So if I do, I apologize. I always try to say what something means, but sometimes it's hard because, like I said, our world is full of acronyms. But OJTs, on the job trainings, that's a little different way of training an individual, and it's working directly with our local businesses. So a business wants to hire an individual for, I'll just use manufacturing as an example because it's really an easy one. So they need to hire somebody. This individual has some minimal experience, but they don't have experience on this specific type of machine that this business has. And so it's going to take some time, and there's going to be a whole training period for this individual. So our staff works directly with a representative from that business. They work with the business to identify what are the skills that somebody needs to learn, how long will it take, and they develop what's called a training plan. And then we actually enter into an agreement with that business. The business hires them, they're on their payroll, and then we can reimburse up to 50%, up to $5,000 during that training period of that individual's salary. So we're paying some of those training costs that the business would otherwise incur on their own. So that's just another way that we're training individuals and helping businesses with their new hires. We also work with youth, and I use that term very loosely. I actually wish we would just call them young adults, because it's for individuals between the ages of 16 to 24. And I don't know, my kids are older than that, so to me they are youth, but you tell a 24-year-old, you call them a youth, they really don't like that. They look at you funny, like, are you really talking to me? So I wish we would call them young adults, but in my world, they're called youths. And in order to be in our program, you have to be, and these aren't my rules, this is the funders' rules, you have to be out of school, and you have to be within that age range, and you have to have a barrier to employment, and it has to be a documentable barrier. But the main barriers that we tend to use the most from the short list that we're given are if you're parenting, if you're an ex-offender, if you've been in the foster care system, if you're homeless, I'm trying to see, on a dropout, that was the other big one, or if you have a disability. So, you know, a young person comes in and then they can access our services if they fit within that, which I wish we would just open the floodgates and help any young person, because any young person that takes the initiative to come in and ask for help, I would like to be able to help, which we will. We just might not be able to give them some of the extras that this program allows us to do. And the big one with that is we have what's called a paid work experience program. So a young person tells us what it is that they're trying to do. They typically have absolutely no experience. They are completely lacking in basic work readiness skills. And what's the best way to learn basic work readiness skills? Yeah, I can sit in a room like this and I can tell a young person what they should and shouldn't do, but it's a whole nother story to actually put it into action and have them learn those skills while on a real job. So we work with businesses who are our work sites. They actually this young person goes on my payroll. So they're completely my liability. They're on my workers' comp. I'm paying their wages. It's minimum wage, but for 16 weeks, they're placed at a business. And what that business is providing is that work readiness skill training. You might say, oh, they're getting free labor. Well, yes and no. These are young people with multiple barriers to employment. And so what that business is doing is, yes, they might be getting quote unquote free labor, but what they are getting is an individual who needs some major mentoring. And our staff work with the business to help them retain that young person and help work through the issues that we know are going to come up. And hopefully by the end of those 16 weeks, the business says, you know what, I see the growth of this person and now I want to hire them. Or they get a really good reference that they never ever would have had. And they also have all of those valuable skills at the end of that 16 weeks. We don't say goodbye to them at that point. Our staff continues to work with them because at the end of the day, what we want for that person is a permanent, self-sustaining, unsubsidized job. And that's what we work with them to do. It's a fabulous program and it's very similar to our summer youth program, which I'll talk about in a minute. The beauty of those kinds of programs is I work with businesses every single day. And the number one thing that I hear is I can't find a qualified workforce. There's a number of business people here. I bet that's the number one thing on your mind when you're thinking about what your needs are. And we couldn't agree more, and we understand that. This is a way of being a part of the solution because you're actually putting yourself out there. You're bringing in a young person who is the future of our workforce, and you're building those skills with them. And hopefully we can help you do that by providing 16 weeks of their wages while you're doing it. We have some other programs that are similar to that one that are specialized in that we are able to fund what we call a specialized employment coach. So it's someone who can do those really intense things that just our typical staff person can't because they've got to be in the office helping the customers as they walk in the door. And what a specialized employment coach does is they can drive somebody to an interview that doesn't have transportation for that. This staff person has driven people all the way to Westfield who needed to go get his birth certificate because he didn't have his birth certificate. This staff person helped an individual move into the first apartment that she had ever had in her entire life, one of our customers. Those are the extras that this position can do. It's funded through 3 different grants. One of them is the Gun Violence Prevention Grant, which you might have heard of that. That was an initiative of actually Governor Cuomo. That's very similar to my youth program that I talked about earlier, that 16 weeks of paid work experience, but it removes all of the eligibility barriers that the other one does. So you don't need one of those barriers. You just have to be between the ages of 18 and 24 and live in the Jamestown zip code. So that's been a hugely successful program. We've had 43 young people come through that. 10 of them are still active. 17 have unsubsidized employment and successfully completed. So programs like that where we can eliminate the eligibility requirements. So you let me know if this is getting too low because I'm trying to keep it high. Okay, because every so often it sounds like I'm really loud and then I'm like, oh, was I too quiet? So you let me know. The other 2 organizations that this position is funded through is probation. So it's direct referrals from probation. Probation got a grant where they were able to subcontract with us for this more individualized intensive case management. And then also Chautauqua Opportunities Homeless Grant. So they received some grant funding so that, again, individuals who are homeless are referred directly to the staff person to do that more intensive work to help them reach their goals. Something else that we do is we competitively have bid on 5 employment services programs at the Department of Health and Human Services. You might know them as DSS bids out. And they are job readiness training, work limited, which includes Social Security insurance and Social Security disability insurance application assistance, the work experience program, targeted training, and subsidized employment, as well as job placement services. So what this program is again, it's a specialized group of staff who are working directly with individuals who are referred directly from the Department of Health and Human Services who are eligible for these programs only. But what it allows us to do, and the reason we actually bid on this years ago, and Andy's gonna laugh because he's gonna remember, the participation rate was at an all-time low. Everybody was talking about it. You may have heard about it. It was in the papers. And somebody said to me, why are you bidding on this? Like, you're crazy to get into this right now. I mean, it's just a hotbed. It's a mess. And I said, well, in my opinion, and I actually met with my board to get their approval. And in my board's opinion, a job seeker is a job seeker is a job seeker. I don't care how they get to the Chautauqua Works doors, but I want to make sure they get there. And any of the other potential bidders that were in the room when I went to the bidders conference before I had even decided and had gone to my board to find out if they were all right with me bidding on this, they would have done it in their own locations, which makes sense. but then how am I going to get them to Chautauqua Works so I can make sure they get access to all these training programs, all of these other things that we offer, and make sure that we're truly braiding our resources as smartly as we possibly can. But most importantly, meeting the needs of that individual in the best way that we possibly can, and not making them run them all around town to try to figure that out. That's hence why we're called a one-stop. We're trying to have as many of the services available to someone right in one stop and make it so that it doesn't matter to them who they're meeting with. That's up to us. The individual, that job seeker shouldn't have to try to figure that out. So that's why we did that. And that has been a great partnership. I've learned more about the participation rate than I ever wanted to, but it has been extremely enlightening. And what we were able to do and have been able to continue to do is I actually meet with the leadership team at HHS on about every 6 weeks. And we've been able to truly align services, including, ensuring that we are all steering people in the direction of occupations where there are jobs, where there are, family sustaining wages for someone to reach. Summer youth program, I promised I would talk about this earlier. We've been running that for, gosh, at least 15 years. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna mention COVID one more time. So during COVID, if you think about the timing, our summer youth program gets ramped up in June. And everybody was trying to figure out how to do a virtual program. This is a paid work experience program at work sites for roughly 100 to 140 kids in our area, all across the county. People were trying to figure out how to do virtual experiences, which, virtual is great to a point, but, I was talking earlier about those basic work readiness skills. I don't know how you teach that on a virtual curriculum. I just don't know how that was going to work. So the funders, which is OTDA, Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, said, no, virtual is not going to cut it. It has to be traditional paid work experiences. And a number of areas said, forget it, we can't do it. It's too scary. There's, we don't want kids getting sick. And I totally respected that. But we said, you know what? We're going to look at what the CDC is telling us, and we're going to do it in as safe of a way as we possibly can. And our team, and we literally didn't get approval for funding until the second week of July. And we had 84 kids working all across this county by the 4th week of July. It was incredible. And we did not have one breakout, one super spreader, one case of COVID related to any of our workers. So, it can be done when everybody just rolls up their sleeves and figures it out. So we're back to almost pre-COVID numbers for that program. This year, it's all based on funding. All of the money, we do hire a staff for the summer to run that program. But most of the money goes right into the kids' pockets, to our participants' pockets. And we had about 120 participants that were placed all over this county at work sites. We actually had a great partnership this year, which we tried to do for 3 years, but COVID really hurt us, John, with Southern Chautauqua Federal Credit Union, where we had the highest number of young people in our program to actually have accounts and get direct deposit. And I'll tell you why that's important. So this is the kind of kids that we're helping. And this is an income eligibility program. We have kids who didn't have access to, they were below the age where they would be required to have a guardian signature in order to get a bank account. The problem with that is many of these kids didn't have a single person over the age of 18 in their lives that they could trust. And that's why they wanted a bank account, so that they had a place to put their money. When I tell you that there were checks of kids would come in looking for their checks. I never got my check. We could check if that check had ever been, how many times did I just say check? How much check would a check? No, just kidding. That we would be able to check whether or not that check had been cashed. And sure enough, it had. And we could even locate where. It was a family member stole it out of the mail and cashed it at the Bullfrog. And I mean, that's the kind of situation that so many of our young people are coming from. And so, John and his team came out, did some great financial literacy work with these kids. And we had the highest number with direct deposit because they had bank accounts, and John and his team made it so easy for them to have a safe place to put their money and really learn what that means. So that's what that program, some of the extras that program does. The other thing that makes us unique here in Chautauqua County that can really make you proud, because I know what all the other programs are doing, and we always have about 50% of our work sites, and we had 40 work sites this year, are private sector. So it can be nonprofits, can be a work site, public sector, so schools, and then private sector. And more than 50% of our work sites typically are private sector businesses. And what that tells you is that our businesses are trying to be a part of the solution. Because again, these are young people with multiple barriers to employment. Even though we're paying the wages, it's a lot of work for them to take on, but they're really teaching those in school, or those work readiness skills. See, I told you, Courtney, I can talk about this stuff for days. And I just made little notes for myself to make sure I wouldn't forget anything. So businesses, I'm going to kind of skip over because I've been talking a lot about the job seeker side. So businesses are just as important of a customer to us as our job seekers. If you are a business and you aren't posting your jobs with us, you should be. They go on what's called the New York State Job Bank. It's free. Even if you only get one candidate from, it's literally a half a page form, and you can even skip the half a page just by putting, you just fill out your business information once, save that document in your on your computer, and then you can just submit that with a job description attachment with it anytime you have an open job. It's free, and that's what gets the information about your open jobs directly to our staff who are working directly with those job seekers. So that's the easiest way to use us quickly and effectively. I'm not saying you shouldn't use other search engines for job search, because we know that the number one, the easiest one that all of our job seekers say they like to use, and our businesses, is Indeed. So I say still do Indeed, but we're free. So why not? Like I said, even if you just get one candidate, I think it was worth, the 2 minutes that it might take to attach that that job description and send it off to us. The workplace culture, the whole landscape has completely changed. In real estate, you hear it's a seller's market or it's a buyer's market. It is a job seekers market right now. There are lots of jobs, and there are not enough job seekers, certainly not qualified ones. And so what we've been trying to do is we've been actually working with our partners at Economic Development and our businesses to really take an introspective look at how they do business a little bit differently. The days of you're lucky to have a job and to collect a paycheck, I don't want, that's all that should matter. Those are over. Individuals who are looking for work want to know that they're valued. They want to know that what they're doing brings value to their community, whether it's their local community, the national community, or even the international community. And they also want to know what they're worth to that prospective business that they're thinking about working at. And so just giving a simple, for example, something that we're talking to businesses about doing is really looking at not just saying this is what you're going to get paid per hour. Yes, that's important. And somebody needs to know this is the dollar per hour wage. But then think about how impactful this would be as you're talking to a prospective employee. But this is how much I'm actually investing in you on an hourly basis. Your benefits, what benefits are you offering as a business? Your 401k program, what other things as a benefit that you can put a dollar figure to, and then give the real dollar amount per hour that you are truly investing in that individual. Super impactful. But businesses really have never had to do that before. So just thinking about that. There's also a workplace culture assessment that has recently been made available, where a business can really look at what is my workplace culture? How can I do better? Where are areas where I might be lacking? What are some ways that I can improve? Because again, people are looking for a life-work balance and a place that they want to be. So those are just a couple of them. Another thing people always talk about and ask about, what are we doing about talent attraction and retention? Well, we're doing a number of things about those. Some are, we've actually been working with a group of businesses who brought the need to us when their when they're bringing in prospective new employees, having a welcome basket, having welcome baskets available that have all sorts of Chautauqua County made products in them. And then also having almost like a concierge team that they can tap into based on what that prospective new employee and their usually typically trailing spouse or partner might be interested in, and then being able to call on those, what I would call Chautauqua County ambassadors, to take them to dinner, show them around the community, answer their questions from a, just a people that live here perspective. So we're working on all of those pieces. There's also a recruitment guide that's being worked on. We're also we're working on how do we tap into what Invest Buffalo Niagara has been doing at, and you're going to see a theme here, Buffalo Bills backers bars all across the country, because everybody that goes to a Buffalo Bills backers bar has some sort of a connection to this community. And there's a ton of marketing being done by Invest Buffalo Niagara, and we want to get on board on some of that too. We are back to in-person job fairs. So we typically would do 2 job fairs a year. We just had our first in-person one actually right here last spring, and we had a little over 100 job seekers and 40 businesses. We've started doing mini job fairs at both of our locations, and we just had one in September in the Jamestown office where we had about 70 job seekers and I think it was 20 businesses. And in our Dunkirk office just 2 weeks ago, we had 16 businesses and 61 job seekers. So we're getting back to that job fair where businesses can come, job seekers can come and meet them in person and apply for jobs. We just had our second business seminar post-COVID last week, and we had just under 70 business representatives. We have a great labor law attorney named Dan Forsyth who comes down from Buffalo for us and did a whole presentation on hot employment laws. And state and federal. So in the intro, Courtney mentioned, state level boards, and I do sit on a couple of those. And one of the big things that we try to do at a state level is we really try to advocate for the system as a whole. And why that's important is, if you heard me talking earlier, so many of our programs have these eligibility requirements. And so one of the biggest things that I advocate for on behalf of our area is, and on our system as a whole, is for flexible funding. Now, that doesn't mean without accountability, but flexible so that we can truly help anybody that needs help that walks through our doors. And then the other is, our funding comes, the bulk of our funding comes through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And that act, I don't recommend this unless you're really trying to fall asleep and have insomnia, but it's literally this thick. And I've read it. I've read the whole law. There's a lot that we are expected to do, and we have never been anywhere near fully funded, not even close. We haven't been close to 50% funded of what the lawmaker said should be funding us at the level that we should be funded. And so it's advocating just fund us the way that you even told us we needed to be funded, so that we can do the work and do it really, really well. We are, but of course, that's always the big push. We always want to be able to do everything that we're supposed to be doing and do it as best as we can. And I could, like I said, I could go on, but I'm probably way over time. And so I am happy to take questions. Yes. I'll go back to Dave first. Oh, okay. All right. Dave can go next. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'll answer the easier question because there's so many success stories. That one's a really tough one. But I am prepared to give you some success stories. How many people working with us? So my staff alone, I have 7 staff. 4 of them are like permanent, non-grant funded, and the other 3 are grant funded. But in our organization as a whole, again, remember, we're a one-stop. We have, through our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding, we have about 15 staff across both ends of the county. But then we also have New York State Department of Labor, our partners, and they are housed in our building, as well as a number of other partner agencies. So again, so that hopefully people can come in and spend one trip and not have to go all over the place for services. And we have, between the two offices, we have probably between 40 and 50 people between the two offices, staff-wise. Success stories. Well, you know what? I'll give you one that with very little advanced warning. One of a local politician had asked if they could meet with some of our participants, like just to hear from them what the services are like, you know, what the impact has been on them. And very quickly, so I put that out to the staff who are working every day with individuals, and they put out the call, and we had about 4 individuals who said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll come in and talk. And one of them was a young man who talked about how when he came into our offices, he had absolutely no hope. He had had entry-level jobs making minimum wage. He did not have a high school diploma or a high school equivalency and did not know what he could possibly do, but he did have an interest, and his interest was in CDLA driving, so, you know, truck driving. So he worked with our staff. We paid for we funded his training completely. He went through the whole process, and he actually, in telling his story, and I had never met this gentleman until that day. Didn't know what he was going to talk about, because in my opinion, I'd like to hear what our customers have to say too. I'm not going to prep them. I want to hear what, you know, what was our impact. And he literally started to cry. And he said his 2-year-old son was sitting out in the truck with his wife waiting for him because they had to go, and they only had one vehicle, but it was that important to him that he come in and tell his story. And that the reason that this was so incredible is, number one, we listened to him, we gave him a chance, we helped him, we made a dream become possible for him, because now he's earning a family sustaining wage, and his son will never have to feel the way that he felt. That's why we do what we do every day. Dave. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the full mix. And there's a multitude of reasons why somebody loses their job. It could be that, you know, they had a disagreement with a supervisor and lost their job. It could be that something changed in their childcare availability and they had to quit a job. And we have the full gamut of age. And you're right, I focused on some of those youth programs that we're doing, but I mean, there is no age limit on who we can assist. But to go back to some of your stats, so for Chautauqua County, the most recent unemployment number is 3.5% for the county. But you have to be really careful when you're looking at unemployment rate as the number that you're going to focus on. It's a good number. It's a good starting place. It does give you a picture that most people, if they want to work, can and should have a job. And most of them do. But the only people counted in the unemployment rate are individuals who, number one, filed a claim, number two, that claim was approved, and number three, are currently on unemployment insurance. And unemployment insurance is only for 26 weeks. And so there are many individuals out there who, for whatever reason, maybe they never were even eligible for unemployment insurance. maybe their unemployment insurance claim ran out, they're not being included in that number. And that's one of the things that we're trying with outreach efforts is to, anybody that's come through our doors, making sure that we're sending email information, making our footprint in social media, our Facebook page far more robust. Getting into Twitter, having, staff that are doing regular tweets, et cetera, to try to get that word out. Because to be perfectly honest, unless they're connected to the system, we don't know who they are. And that's a real issue. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yep. There's many challenges, but then also all those challenges can also open up opportunities. And again, if somebody really wants to work, there are jobs for them. And whether that's us connecting them to like the SBDC, if they want to be, go the entrepreneur route, because maybe they do want to do something a little bit different that's maybe off the grid or hasn't found its way to the grid yet. And again, that's another resource that we can help somebody get to. It's that whole, you're here, you're telling me you want to get here, let us help you figure out how to get there. But we got to have them come in the door to tell us that they're here. So the way you can help is spread the word. Tell somebody, if you meet somebody who isn't working right now, but is thinking, yeah, I think I'm ready, have them just say, go down to Chautauqua Works or call and ask for the next available appointment. Yeah, I think Sue, and then I'll go over here. Yep. And then I think I saw some of it. Yes. Yes. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been on Zoom. I apologize, my Zoom friends. Hi, Zoom friends. They're all blinked out, so I can't see any of them. So the question is if we help with things like appearance, their presentation, et cetera. We do everything from resume prep to interview, mock interviews, and we do have those hard conversations. And that's always a challenge. That's really, and so we're always looking for our staff anyway, for us to do professional development with our staff so that they can be better equipped to have those conversations, because those are really, they're tough. But yes, we do all of that. So then I think I'm over here, and then I'll be over here. Yep, so the question is, what other services would we like to provide that we currently aren't able to provide? Well, as I said, I'd like to open it up more, some of our our youth services, so that we could do those 16-week paid work experiences with anybody, regardless of, quote unquote, eligibility requirements, anybody that needs it. If somebody isn't able to, we see them hopping job to job to job, obviously there's something isn't quite sticking. So let's try to, put them into a situation where they're going to get that mentoring on the job. The other thing is more things like what we're doing with the homeless and the probation with that specialized employment coach to, have that staff person, the money for the mileage, like all of those pieces for more people, because that is limited to just direct referrals from those programs, because they're actually paying for that service. Okay, John. Yep, so the question is, I mentioned a family sustaining wage job. And what does that mean? Basically what that means is somebody earning enough money that they can actually take care of themselves and their family. So our board, so the Workforce Development Board, and I should back up for a second. So the Chautauqua County Workforce Development Board, by law, we have certain mandated partners that must have a seat on that board, but the board is required to be made up of 51% private sector businesses. And so the whole thinking behind that, which I think is one of the smartest things that I've seen in legislation, is it's to have local businesses be the real drivers of the workforce system. And that's why that's set up the way that it is. But it's the board actually sets the wage at which somebody should be considered self-sufficient. So it's called the self-sufficiency wage is $25 an hour. Now, I'm sure you and I could probably argue for days, is that really a family sustaining wage? And that's really more based on an individual need. But that's the wage at which if somebody is working and they make less than $25 an hour, they can access any of our programs, including our training funding. Great.
Thank you, Katie, for the work you do in the community and for your wonderful, wonderful presentation this afternoon. As you know, one of Rotary's major international programs is eradicate polio in the world. In honor and thanks for your presentation to our Rotary Club today, we'll make a donation in your name that we will vaccinate 4 children who will never experience polio in their life. Remember this year's international theme, Imagine Rotary. Thank you, and we are adjourned.